Coming up on Health Watch, I'm going to introduce you to a walking miracle. Stay tuned. Hello, I'm Terrance Afer-Anderson, and this is Health Watch. We've talked, of course, about a great variety of medical conditions and public health issues on Health Watch. Everything from asthma to autism spectrum disorder, from prostate cancer to pandemic flu, from concussions to cardiovascular disease, and it seems like almost everything in between. And I've also introduced you to a vast array of people who have successfully navigated through some pretty dicey health situations, myself included. But I'm about to introduce you to a man whose recovery from a major illness can only be defined by any measure as a miracle. His name is Robert Epps, president and founder of the National Organization for Aortic Awareness. Of course, the name of his organization alone should give you a pretty good idea of our topic for today, and even suggest why he is very much a walking miracle. But here it is. Today on Health Watch, we're going to discuss aortic aneurysms. But let's hear his story in his own words. Welcome to Health Watch, Robert.
Thank you for having me.
Man, I am so glad to have you on the show. I just met you recently, but you're just such an interesting and compelling story. Let's talk about aortic aneurysms, but I think the first thing we should do, of course, is to describe the aorta, what it is, what its function, and so forth.
Well, I always describe the aorta as a candy cane with the heart attached to a short end and the size of a garden hose. See, and when I do my presentations, I always tell people that it's shaped like a candy cane, your heart is attached to the short end, and it's about the size of a garden hose until it gets through the abdominal area where it starts to get smaller down below.
And what is an aneurysm?
An aneurysm is a bulging in the aorta when it gets 50% larger than its normal size. The aorta usually, I'd say probably 2.5 centimeters or about an inch. So when it gets 50% larger than that, that's when it's considered an aneurysm, and they'll start looking at it.
So an aneurysm, or aortic aneurysm, is a pretty big deal indeed. It's pretty much a dire situation. Now, you've had 3 events to occur in your life, 1996, 2002, and 2004. Those are important to telling your story. Now, why don't you share those things with us, and our viewers will have a better appreciation of the gravity or the severity of an aortic aneurysm.
It started in 92, actually. That's
in 92?
In 92. That's when the surgeries, the dates that you gave were my surgeries. But it actually started in 92, which kind of adds another layer of miraculous, to it, because in 92 was when I had the aortic dissection. I was at church, I was walking up the stairs, and I felt this stabbing pain in my chest. And I didn't know what it was, and then I passed out. They took me in the back, were praying for me and everything, but nobody called 911 and called an ambulance. No, nobody called 911. I was there. The pain started to subside after I came to. Actually, I drove home, which was another crazy thing.
Oh my God.
My left arm was limp, my jaw was hurting and everything else from the pain, the stabbing pain, because it felt like somebody just stabbed me in the chest and turned the knife. That's what it felt like. So I left there, went home, and went back to the base because I was stationed up on Governor's Island in New York at the time. And when I got back to the base, pain started up again. I'm in a dispensary, they're watching me, they don't know what's going on, they're giving me Maalox and all this other stuff for antacid, but the doctor, he just stood there, there's nothing he could do, and I'm bent over in pain, and the only way I could get relief was to bend over almost 90 degrees. So they decided to take me to the hospital over in Staten Island, run some tests, nothing. They ran an EKG, which just checks the electrical rhythm of the heart, not actually getting a picture. Nothing occurred. They left. I left. I said they let me go, and 4 years later, 96, is when they really found everything.
Okay, so you go from 1992, when you were having a serious event, and it took them a long time to diagnose what was going on. Again, that truly does make that whole experience a miracle that you have in fact survived. So we go from 1992 to 1996, and what happened in 96?
96 was when, that one's, I don't know, that one's kind of hard to talk about sometimes because I was feeling tired. I didn't know what it was. I was staying at a friend's house because we were just moving down here from Governor's Island up in New York.
Right.
I was in the Coast Guard. And the way it happened, I would feel my heart, because I felt something wrong, but I didn't know what it was. And when it beat, it would kind of torque my chest a little bit. You know how you start a car, and initially it would kind of,
so it was really pounding.
Yeah, it would torque my chest a little bit, but I didn't feel anything. So I said, well, okay, I kind of left it alone. But then we went on a trip, and just because I used to do inspections and training, things like that, and I felt tired. I was running on the beach. Trying to get my wind back, and I couldn't understand why it wouldn't, you know, because I was just feeling so fatigued.
Right.
But one of the PHS officers over on the Portsmouth,
PHS being Public Health Service.
Public Health Service, yes, over at the Coast Guard base here in Portsmouth, she checked and listened and asked me, said, you know, you have a heart murmur, and I said, well, yes, I know that. But they said it was benign. And I remember she looked at me and she said, well, it's not benign anymore.
Wow.
And she stopped. And she had her stethoscope up here on my neck listening. And it took me years to figure out why she had it there so long. And years, you know, skipping forward, I've come to find out that what it was, she heard the regurgitation from the leaking valve in my heart just up here. She heard the radiation of the regurgitation up there. And from that, she sent me to Portsmouth Naval. They kept me. They actually let me go. And they saw that I had an 8-centimeter aneurysm near my heart. And an 8-centimeter aneurysm, to give you a picture, a soda can is about 6.5 centimeters. Mine was 8 centimeters.
8 centimeters.
And it's only supposed to be 2.5.
And they let you go.
And they let me go. But they called me back. We had just closed on our new home. They called me back, told me don't pick up anything over 10 pounds. I was walking in the door. I had a TV in my hand at the time. And you know the TVs then were, they weren't these flat screens. They were
huge.
Huge.
Right.
So I walk in the door. My wife's sitting on the stairs. Big, you know, I always joke and tell her those big crocodile tears where they pop out the side. It just seemed that way, but I saw the seriousness of it. And she said, they want you to come back. And I didn't think anything of it because, you know, you're young and, you know, you think you're indestructible. So I talked to the doc on the phone and he said, come on back. So they brought me back, and I mean, there's, you know.
And that was your first procedure?
That led to the first surgery, and that was Memorial Day of 1996. I remember sitting in the hospital, and with all that going on, I still didn't take it serious.
Understood. Until
the nurse came in. I got up one day to brush my teeth that weekend, and I was in there brushing my teeth, and the nurse comes flying in the room, and she says, "What are you doing?" I said, you know, I looked at her, you know, I'm brushing my teeth. She said, "Get in the bed," and I said, well, how does she know? I'm asking myself this. This is before I knew about the telemetry monitors that they have out front.
Gotcha.
My heart rate had gone up. And because of the size of my aorta and my heart being dilated, the left ventricle being enlarged, they didn't want me to move out of the bed.
Now, they performed a procedure in 96. What was that procedure that they performed?
The procedure was an aortic valve replacement, to replace the aortic valve. It was leaking real bad. That's what caused the left ventricle, which is a chamber of the heart, to enlarge. And because when your left ventricle squeezes, you hear them say systolic and diastolic. Well, a systolic is the squeeze. And every time it squeezes the blood out, the valves don't close. So what happens is the blood will leak back into the ventricle and cause the heart to work harder and enlarge because of it.
Okay. Now, what happened in 2002?
2002, the aorta got enlarged in my chest. It was getting close to 7 centimeters. A surgeon, he told me, he said, you know, you need to come in, you need to come in. And I kept saying no, no, no. And then he called me and he said, look, well, if you don't want me to do the surgery, he'll sign this. And then I said, wait a minute, maybe I need to get this checked out. It was at 7 centimeters in my chest and the thoracic area here. And that's when I said I need to do this. And so they did an open procedure. It was 12 hours where they grafted the aorta and reconnected all the arteries. It's an amazing. Those guys are absolutely amazing.
Now, but it was not finished with you yet, because you had another event in 2004, was it?
2004
Right.
was the third one. The aorta, like I said, it's shaped like a candy cane with a heart attached to the
Yes.
short end.
Right.
It starts to get smaller as it gets into your abdomen, and then it splits or bifurcates into
Right.
your legs.
Right.
Well, the right one was starting to dilate, and they said, well, we're going to have to go back in again. So they went in again in 2004, and that's when I started thinking about this. I said, you know, maybe I need to really look into this. And in a way, I kind of got an attitude about it, because I asked the surgeon, I said, well, if you knew the whole thing was dissected and dilated, why didn't you fix it? And he kind of looked at me stoically and just said, you wouldn't have survived it. So needless to say, I didn't ask him any more questions.
So, certifiable miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. Did you have any, how was your health before this?
Excellent.
This good health
Excellent.
before then?
I was in great shape because I was in the military, in the Coast Guard.
Right.
I didn't have, I had my health record. I have no hypertension, no atherosclerosis, no family history, no
I was gonna ask you
predisposing.
that. There's no family history at all?
No
of cardiovascular
predisposing
disease?
factors at all, no Marfans, anything like that. So everything was great in terms of health.
Now, you mentioned that when the first occurrence back in 1992, when you were at church, and that was something that the whole thing was just a big mystery to you. But I did some research. I went on the National Institutes of Health, National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, and I saw some symptoms for thoracic aneurysm and the aortic aneurysm. But I'm curious, and we're going to put some of those up. I guess we're putting some of those up now. But about your own situation, what kind of symptoms did you have? You talked about this a little bit, but can you give us a little bit more detail?
Well, thoracic aneurysms many times are asymptomatic, meaning they have none.
Okay.
You have no idea, even though that dissection, the tearing in my chest was a sign, but I didn't know what to look for.
Okay.
And when I got treated at the Coast Guard base, they gave me Maalox. When I went over to the hospital in Staten Island, they gave me Maalox. So I didn't know what symptom to look for. And a lot of people don't know what to look for. You think sometimes it's an acute case of flatulence, but it's not.
Right.
It's actually
a very acute case.
Yeah, oh, very.
Yeah.
But it's your aorta, actually the layers of the aorta being ripped apart by the pressure of the blood being pumped out the heart.
That's pretty incredible. So what has your recovery been like? What is your prognosis?
It's been good. I go back, my vascular surgeon, he always calls me a testament of modern medicine. And he says everything looks good, nothing has changed over the years.
And that's been since 2004?
Since 2004.
That's 10 years, that's incredible.
10 years. He says everything is good. I mean, it's no changes anywhere, nothing is increased in size. I eat just pretty much the way I was eating before.
Was that a good diet, Robert?
Well, I was teaching nutrition and eating, and because by my background in the Coast Guard had a lot to do with culinary, but then I started teaching nutrition. And food combinations, what different foods, what the impact it has on your body.
Right.
So I was eating right and running. As a matter of fact, I was at the Coast Guard Academy just about 5 months before, running hills and doing all of this. And I remember asking one of the surgeons about that, and he said, you know, I asked him how big was my aorta 5 months before they found it. And he said probably about pretty close to where it was when they found it. And I'm in the hills, way about 50 miles north of California, doing calisthenics, running 3-4 miles a day, everything.
What was most challenging and most rewarding about that entire experience? Let's deal with the challenge first.
Wow.
I mean, this was something that, would you say that you were in denial that there was something seriously wrong, or maybe you were misdirected. I won't say misguided, but misdirected because they didn't, you know, diagnose it necessarily right away. What was the most challenging thing about it in terms of your emotional response to it, or just
Accepting that it was me.
Okay.
That was the hardest part.
Once you understood the full gravity of the situation.
Because outside of as a child being in a hospital, I've never been in one, never felt good about one, always, you know, kind of cocky attitude about not having to be in one,
right.
Never going to be in one, and this and that and that and that. So when this happened to me, it was like, okay, I have none of the things that would cause me to have this. What is this? What's causing this? Why me? Why me? And you ask yourself that a lot. Why me? What's going on? I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. I didn't do any of the things. I didn't have sugar diabetes, which is one of the symptoms for, or causes for abdominal aortic aneurysms. And, you know, so it was just why me? Because I was in great shape.
So I wanted to get to the most rewarding aspect of this, because there was something that came very positive that came out of it. But before we do that, let's just backpedal a little bit. There's no family history. Your own health prior to that was good. Were you genetically predisposed to this? Or was this just something that came out of the blue? Any idea?
Genetic predisposition has not been found.
With no family history.
No family history, nothing.
So
nobody,
it just came out of nowhere.
Well, the one cardiologist, I remember him telling me in Portsmouth Navy, he sat on my bed and looked at me and told me, said, "You're a chosen man." And asked him, you know, and like I said, at the time, at the time I was still kind of arrogant about it. I said, "Well, what do you mean by that? I mean, I know that, but what do you mean by that?" And he said, "Because you shouldn't be here. With all that you have going on, you should not be here."
Okay, so let's get to the rewards. What is the most rewarding thing about this entire experience?
Well, I heard it said that God has a way of getting you on his plan, because I had my own plan. None of my plans worked. And his plan, it's the only way I could say, I mean, if it wasn't for his plan, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now on the show talking about aneurysms. Because the rewarding part for me is just being able to go out and help people, share information with people, because we've all heard that scripture where it says this, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. In this case, a lot of times it means food. And what I'm going to say in this particular point that I'm using now is food, because a lot of the things we eat destroy us.
Yes.
And I like to teach, I go and I talk about food combinations, eating healthy and things like that.
Tell us about your book, and thank you again for autographing that book. I really, truly appreciate that. The book, tell us the title and how did it come into being?
The Human Aorta, Your Superhighway of Life. The last time I had surgery, right after the last one, I was searching the internet for information, looking around, trying to find something. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find a thing. And I said, well, you know what? I need to write this. And then I did find some books. They were doctor to doctor in terms of $250. And I mean, the average person couldn't understand it. So I said, let me write something that explains this in a way where everybody can easily understand it, and is using analogies of things that they do every day. And that's why I wrote it, really it answered questions for me, but it also answered questions for a lot of other people. What is the aorta? What is its purpose? And what are the diseases that impact it?
I can't wait to get into that book. I'm very anxious to read it, particularly having heard of your experience. And we put some information up on the screen just a short while ago about how folks can get more information about this book. But why don't you just repeat that again, please?
The name of the book is The Human Aorta, Your Superhighway of Life, and you can get it at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, or you can go to thehumanaorta.org and order it there. Okay,
now all of this led to the creation of a new NOAA, well, I call it a new NOAA, the National Organization for Aortic Awareness, which is a group that you are the president and the founder of. What is this mission? How does this mission compare to your own personal mission?
Well, I started the National Organization for Aortic Awareness to raise public awareness. The mission statement is to raise public awareness of aneurysm through education and screening while providing hope for the affected and funding for genetic research. And it's really to raise awareness, public awareness, to help other people through it and to explain it, because a lot of people have no idea what this is. A lot of these things, I call it a smooth criminal to things that, the diseases that impact the aorta and the heart sometimes, but mostly the aorta, because they mimic other things that occur with the aorta. Sometimes blamed is some other abnormality gets the credit for, and it's really not that. So that's why I go around and I talk about it. I put on conduct free clinics, and not clinics, but just public events to get free screenings and what have you.
So your mission really is about increasing awareness of the importance of the aorta and aortic aneurysms. You have an event coming up in September that I'd like to chat about in just one brief moment, but if you could tell me the types of events that you've done before and what kind of partners you've had.
Some of the events are, we've done veterans health events. I've done just awareness presentations at local churches here in New Jersey and other places. I've spoken at medical conferences, just sharing information from a patient perspective, things like that. It's just, it varies, but in terms of a public events, just really for screenings and just getting the word out about aneurysms and aortic dissection, which is really a killer. Yeah. Because most people don't survive this. And one of the stories that really was a catalyst for me in this, a couple of Wall Street Journal authors won a Pulitzer Prize for their series of articles on the silent killer, or a time bomb in my chest, as they were called. And it was about the aorta and aortic aneurysms and diseases of the aorta.
So you have an event coming up in September. Tell us about that event.
Yes, the men's health event. Yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that, because women, you know, they have the mammograms, they have the breast cancer, they have all these other things going on. But the men, we don't have much in terms of screenings and things like that. So this is going to be exciting. We're going to talk about male menopause. We're going to give free screenings, the cardiovascular. We're going to talk about all the things and provide screenings for the things, the top 3 killers of men.
And you have several agencies that are joining you in this effort. What kind of agencies are helping you out?
Oh, Medtronic has helped me out on various different events. The Centera Heart Hospital is helping me with this one. The guys at Baylor College of Medicine, Dr. Lemire and those guys have really been great, because they're giving me the medical illustrations that I need for the presentations, and they support me with papers and things like that. I'm going to talk with some folks at the NIH, National Institute of Health, about doing something like this and getting them involved. So there are different, Centera, I mean, just
a bunch of different
American Heart Association, yes. They've helped me on different levels. So quite a few smaller charities that have helped me also.
Where can our viewers get information on the National Organization for Aortic Awareness?
If you go to noaafoundation.org, all the information is there.
That's NOAA Foundation?
Anyway, just like the NOAA for the National
Gotcha. Right. We won't mention them.
No, we won't.
Okay.
But yeah, noaafoundation.org, and the information is there about the upcoming event, about previous events, about what we do, and how how they can help us by coming out and supporting us at the event with getting the screenings and what have you.
And is there a telephone number for NOAA as well, isn't there? What is the telephone number?
Yeah, I can be reached at 757-513-8442. And you can get information there about events. We'll have a recording up soon to kind of provide timelines and things like that. But that's where you can call to just get information on the event.
Robert, I want to thank you so very much for joining us today. Is there anything else that you'd like to add very quickly?
No, I just thank you for having me, helping me get the word out. I really appreciate it. I really do.
Well, it's been a delight, and at some point I want to touch the hem of your garment. You're such a profoundly profoundly touched, man, in terms of the miracle that you've experienced in your life, and I'm so very pleased and delighted that you're sharing your story with our viewers here on Health Watch. A pleasure meeting you. Thank you so very much. And what we're going to do now, we're going to make a bit of a transition. We're talking about health and fitness. I had the good fortune of meeting a young woman a few months ago who was morbidly obese. And she turned that, her story is somewhat of a miracle as well. She turned her being obese, morbidly obese, into a fitness regimen, which she lost a bunch of weight, and now she's a certified professional fitness trainer, and she's been doing some trainings for us for Health Watch. Her name is Tasha Turnbull, and in just for a moment we're going to take a look at one of Tasha Turnbull's T2 and 60 fitness segments. Let's take a look right now.
Hi everyone, this is T2 and 60. My name's Tasha Turnbull, and we are going to do 3 cardiovascular exercises today, guaranteed to get your heart rate up. So it's really good to get in some exercises outside of going to the gym on the cardiovascular machines or walking. So these are 3 exercises you can do at home. The first thing we're going to do is weighted jumping jacks. Hold your weights up, and you're going to jump in and out. Okay? I want you to do these for 30 seconds. Next exercise, we're going to put him down. Keep 1, you're going to do weighted high knee exercises. Again, another great exercise to do right at home. And the third one, jump squats. Jump out. Again, these are 3 great exercises to do in 30 seconds. See you next time.
You know, I walk to work every day. I really enjoyed walking a mile each way to work. And it's just so much I get out of it in terms of the exercise as well as the environment and so forth. But seeing Tasha work out, I think I really need to get on the mat and do some more cardiovasculars. We want to thank you for joining us today for this edition of Health Watch. You can watch previous editions of Health Watch online at www.norfolk.gov/healthwatch. If you would like to drop me a line, you can email me at terrance.afer-anderson@vdh.virginia.gov. You can also give me a call at 757-683-8836, 757-683-8836. Be sure to tell all of your friends about the exciting things that we're doing on Health Watch. They will not be disappointed. For the Norfolk Department of Public Health, I'm Terrance Afer-Anderson, and this has been Health Watch.